Fair. It's the Gallo Show. Richard Cross in for Paul Gallo. We're in the Trustmark Bank Studios. Life's beautiful when your bank fits you to a T. Trustmark, people you trust, advice that works. To learn more, go to trustmark.com, member FDIC. Reminder coming up this afternoon on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar. You will hear an interview with gas station food connoisseur Stafford Sheridan. Yes, that is a thing. Gas station food connoisseur Stafford Sheridan. His social media reviews of gas station food, especially in Mississippi, have been a viral hit. That's In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, 1 to 2 this afternoon on most SuperTalk Mississippi stations. I guess we're joined by the mayor, not one that is elected politically, but the unofficial mayor of the Neshoba County Fair. Scott Founds joins us. He, of course, is a Mississippi House of Representatives member representing District 44. He's chairman of the House Public Utilities Committee. We might get to some of that stuff in a little while, but
sure.
This is fantastic.
Glad you're here, Richard. Glad you experienced an early morning into the Neshoba County Fair.
Yeah, I said to you a second ago, I look around and I don't see a ton of people right now. I've been here before, and so I know what it looks like in the afternoons and in the evenings. But I feel like people are missing out. Morning at the fair where you kind of watch it all come to life is it's pretty cool. And, oh, by the way, it's only about 71 degrees right now.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. We've been good Lord has blessed us with weather for this 134th fair, and it is nice out this morning. And I tell you, it is to see this thing come to life, and especially knowing what's going to be happening over here at the Fountain Square Pavilion in a couple of hours, with political speaking started and the governor being on the ground today and other statewide candidates for office. We've got a big day, but it is sort of a solemn solitude right now here on Founders Square, but it's going to come to life.
So I don't know if you realize it or not, but a second ago you looked at me like I asked the dumbest question in the history of the world. I asked you, how long you'd been coming to the fair, and you said 61 years. You'd done it for your entire life, and I said, have you ever missed a year? You said, absolutely not. I mean, it was like, I can't even believe you would ask that question. I thought something might have happened somewhere along the way, but is that unique? Or
no, it's not. I mean, well, and let me say, no, it's not. For people that, especially people that grew up here and grew up going to the fair, it's not uncommon for people not to have ever missed a fair. And so I have not ever missed one. 61 years old, and I come back. I have as much passion for this fair as I did when I was a kid. And growing up here and being a part of it, and then I've been on the fair. I first got on the fair board in 1995. Been on the board 28 years. The board elected me president 2 years ago. I don't know. The fair just gets in your
I didn't
blood.
mean that as a slight when I said mayor, Mr. President.
No, that's fine. I'll answer to anything.
I understand that.
I'll answer to anything. But no, and look, I know people have different views of the fair, Richard. I mean, some people have been here and hate it. They hate it because it's just too dusty or it's too muddy or too hot or whatever. It's all of the above. It's either muddy, it's either dusty, but it's always going to be hot. It's summertime in July. But out here with the fair, I will tell you two things. Number one, we always expect the unexpected. I mean, just things happen.
Sure.
And with that, it is what it is. The fair's going to go on. And, it's been a great year this year. Attendance has been very good. We had our first morning of political speaking yesterday. Political speaking again today. This is the most revered political stump in the state. Representative Bubba Carpenter was here yesterday, and he was at my cabin last night. We were just talking, and he was talking about Jacinto up in Alcorn County, I think, and talking about how the two are different. The two are different, in the political world.
Right.
But when you think about the ones that have been on that stage over there and spoke through the years, and the color and the atmosphere that a lot of them bought, it's just so much history out here. It's just so much history out here. 134 years. So. Well,
and Mississippi's political history has changed pretty dramatically over the course of those 134 years. I was reading a column that Sid Salter wrote, I think it was yesterday, and I think he called it a monolithic Democrat Party in Mississippi that then went into a period of there was some transition to what we are now in is kind of a monolithic Republican majority, where you've got, huge margins in the House and in the Senate and the governor's mansion and the whole deal. So how does it break down politically among fairgoers? I mean, does it kind of mirror much of Mississippi writ large?
It does. I will say, as far as the fair itself, the Fair Association, we are very careful to be nonpartisan on all political stuff, and we have policies in our political speaking invitation policy and our tent policy, and people you see people businesses putting up tents here. But the constituency of the fair, or I call them our patrons, they're very reflective of Mississippi's political color. I would tend to think that most fairgoers out here tend to lean more conservative, and so it's probably reflective of what is across the state of Mississippi.
And 134 years ago, most of the fairgoers would have been Democrats.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were as a state at that time. Obviously a very different time, and there are some people who would want to fight you for saying that, but...
Well, that's just the way it was, and the pendulum swung, Being in the House of Representatives, I'm completing my 5th term, my 20th year. I'm running again this year. But 12 years ago, when Republicans took over the House of Representatives, the Senate had already had a Republican majority, but then the House got a Republican majority in 2012. Philip Gunn was elected Speaker. That pendulum swung, and a lot of it goes.
And we could see that coming for a long time, but it still took a while before it kind of got over the hump, and you got that full pendulum swing for the Republican majority in the House.
Yeah, and I think that pendulum started swinging really when Haley Barbour was elected governor. I think because Haley, I say Haley and I came in together. He was elected in 2003, and I was elected in 2003, started serving in 2004. And so it really, that's when the pendulum really swung. And the Republicans taking over the House in 2012, we've been able to, and I think, institute some very good policies that are good for the taxpayers and citizens of Mississippi.
We're going to twist his arm and ask him to stay for another segment. State Representative Scott Bounds, who is the president of the Neshoba County Fair Board. Talk a little more history of the fair. We'll ask about the Neshoba County Fair real estate market. It's kind of hard. I don't think you can just go to Zillow and find a bunch of listings. I don't think it works that way. It's the Paul Gallo Show from the Neshoba County Fair in the Trustmark Bank Studios. We are back with you right after this. The Paul Gallo Show on this Thursday morning, the 27th of July, the penultimate day of the Neshoba County Fair 2023. That is where we are coming to you from this morning, looking directly over at the pavilion as things are coming to life in and around Founders Square for another big day of political speeches and music tonight and horse racing this afternoon, and a whole lot of revelry as well. Scott Bounds, state representative for District 44, is with us this morning. He is also the president of the Neshoba County Fair Board. Kind of joked before we were going to the break. I was like, I don't think you can just go to Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever the websites are and search for fair cabins. It might surprise people how valuable these are to some, and how rare the turn. Or maybe I should ask you that: how rare is the turnover in terms of cabins?
Well, pretty rare. I mean, there'll be if for a cabin to really sell from one family to another. Is pretty rare, okay? Now, you may have families that transfer ownership within the family.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But for Scott Bounds to sell to Richard Cross we don't have that a lot out here.
Well, how much do you want for yours? Let's see if we can work a deal out here.
Well, so let's talk about that. So, obviously you're talking about real estate.
I was looking at the lottery numbers a second ago, and that Mega Millions We might could arrive at something.
Well, so let me just give the listeners and the audience just sort of an overview of how the cabin structure works. Okay?
Please do. Please.
So the Fair Association, the land that your cabin sits on, you don't own the land. Okay, the Fair Association owns the land,
okay.
And we don't give a lease to you. We don't have a 99-year lease. You don't have a 99-year lease, or you don't have a 25-year lease. It's just an agreement that if you build a cabin, tear a cabin down, or buy one or whatever, you're going to abide by the rules of the association. And we don't have a lot of rules, but you still got rules you got to go by. But anyway, you don't own the land, but it's like, Richard, it's like any other real estate. It's location, location, location. Here on Founder Square, this is the prime property. On the racetrack, it's the prime property. And even though you don't own the land, I have seen many instances out here where if you did have the rarity of somebody else buying a cabin from somebody else and they want to tear it down and build something, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to buy a location, okay? And that can be upward here on the square, can be upward $200,000 just to have the location. And then if you're going to have that kind of money to put into just buying location, you're going to have the kind of resources you want to build a nice cabin, which nowadays can run anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000. So you can easily have $500,000 in a cabin out here.
But again, the supply is not really there.
Supply's not there. No, it is. The supply is not there. It's just sort of like land. Ain't gonna be no more land, and it's not going. We're not. The Fair Association. I know we have not had a discussion in many years about opening up any more of our reserve land where we have for cabins. We it may happen after I'm gone, but I don't think so.
Sure.
And because I will tell you, I mean, this place becomes a small city. And, we have to maintain our electrical infrastructure, our wastewater, infrastructure, lagoons and things like that. And, it transforms into a city for 10 days.
All right, so this is a week and a half. It's a 10-day event. What becomes of the Neshoba County Fair grounds and cabins for the other 355 days of the year?
Okay, so we turn all the utilities on to all of the residential area of the cabins in early May, first weekend in May.
Okay.
So people can start coming out and getting their cabins ready, spending the weekend and everything else, and then we will disconnect all of the power and water and everything the second Monday in August. Gives people time to shut their cabin down and things like that. So your question, what happens the other time, you can't use your cabin, any other time. You can't come out here and run a generator for Thanksgiving. You can't run out, I was
going to say, if a couple of families wanted to get together on a college football Saturday and come set up big screens, you can't do it.
Can't do it, yeah. Can't run.
Why is that?
Well, a lot of reasons. First of all, if you allow that, we'd have to maintain security force year-round.
Okay.
We'd have to maintain garbage pickup year-round, and it's a lot of reasons. Just logistically, it shuts down in August. It shuts down. You can come out here this time next week, and the crew and our team out here will have maintenance and grounds people will have cleaned the grounds up, and it'll literally be a ghost town out here this time next week.
Yeah,
and we always like to. I always like for the crews and our ground team and our maintenance staff to get the grounds cleaned up, and then a big rain come and just give it a good cleansing.
Just needs a bath.
Just needs a bath.
Just needs a bath after this. All right.
Very unique. 601 cabins out here, individually owned by families or whatever. Corporations can't own a cabin. Trust can't own it's got to be got to be an individually owned cabin. And we have 570 plus RV spots, RV sites that we lease out, and they're full. We got a waiting list for over 200 wanting to get camper spots, and that's sort of like cabins that don't turn over a lot either.
So with the RV piece of it, and I came by the RV lot coming in this morning, is that folks that grew up with families that had cabins, but there's not enough room, and so it's spillover, or is that people who haven't been able to buy cabin? What's the makeup on that?
Some of all of that, Richard. A lot of people just never had an opportunity to have a cabin or to own a cabin or be a part of a cabin. But
and it's expensive.
It is. It's expensive. But then they own an RV and they like that. They like that lifestyle. I'm not an RV guy. I mean, I'm just not. And but the ones that do it like it, and they enjoy doing it. And but it's really, I want to say, and I don't mean this in a negative connotation. You got the cabin, thing, and then you got the camper thing, and it's really two different worlds. It's really two different worlds because all the cabins are situated on the grounds around the pavilion and the racetrack and those kind of places. And the RV lots are up above what we call the horse barns. And even though they're not isolated and they come into all the activities, the RVs are not close to the center of the fairground, the heart of the fairground. And, right here on Founder Square is where it originated. And 134 years ago, we missed, talking about the fair, 1916 and 1917, I don't think the fair was not held for 2 years because of World War I. Then it wasn't held in 42, 43, 44, and 45, and there's actually the historical records and all show that the fair just about didn't survive after World War II.
Really?
And it's just, the grounds grew up, became like a jungle, and it took them a year to thank goodness we had some people who were dedicated back then and had a passion for the fair like we do now that came in and said, no, we're going to keep the fair going.
I mean, no different than a barn that's sitting out in a pasture that doesn't get maintained or the grass mown around it or bush hogged or whatever. But before we run out of time, we got a couple of minutes left. Political speeches coming up today. There is an expected level of decorum, at least to some degree, but you've seen some fireworks through the years as well.
Oh, yeah. We've seen some fireworks, and for the most part, whether they're candidates or sitting officials in off-election years, most of them understand the decorum out here and what we will and will not allow in the political speaking. We don't make rules, Richard, out here just to make rules. Anything that we've done and any policy that we have or anything, something has promulgated us to make a rule. And we've got a pretty...
Usually a reaction, right?
Yeah. And we have a pretty... our political speaking policy and your invitation to speak out here is pretty tight, and but it's because we've just had different experiences through the years, and we say, okay, next year we got to put this in because this happened and it was bad, but no, but the decorum. It'll be lively today. You've got the gubernatorial candidates speaking today, and it'll be a lively day.
I think it's between yesterday and today, 41 political speakers that are here this year, 134th year of the fair.
Let me give a plug real quick.
Please do.
This is One Coast Day, Coastal Mississippi Day, so to see the coast people moving in, setting up tents. They've had a great contention here the last 2 days, had a big event just right below us here last night, and glad to have our coast friends up here. Tomorrow concludes the Neshoba County Fair 2023, but we've still got 2 big nights left, 2 big days left.
Okay.
2 more days of horse racing, and end it with fireworks by Big Pop Fireworks out of Ellisville, Mississippi tomorrow night.
That'll be fantastic. Scott Founds, wish you all the best. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Got more coming up. Paul Gallo's Show from the Neshoba County Fair.